The Newsround on Off the Ball.
With Gillette. Put your best face forward with our new and improved razors.
This is News Talk.
Welcome along. Tuesday's Off the Ball. Pretty interesting night in the Champions League, you would have to say. Largely owing in no small part to PSG against Manchester City in Paris. We'll have lots of football on the show this evening. Exclusive interview with Keith Andrews, who has said very little really publicly in his 15 months as Ireland assistant coach. But tonight we'll chat to him about the job done thus far alongside Stephen Kenny. So that's going to be a big part of the show this evening. Starts just after 7:30. Plus Manchester United more than wobbling again. Andy Mitten is with us after 9 o'clock. 53106 the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. We have Johnny Ward in studio. Hello.
What's going on, Joe?
What is going on? Richie McCormack, what's going on?
Johnny's Torino jersey is what's going on. That is a beaut.
Haven't worn it in a while, actually. I think the last time I wore it was a bit slimmer as well. But yeah, it's one of the better ones, Richie. It has like all the names of the club.
Superga victims, is it?
Of the which?
The Superga victims, is it?
It's like it's like all the icons that played for the club are kind of named on the jersey in the form of, and that forms like the icon of the outer of the. I think the bull is their emblem or something like that. But
it is indeed, yeah.
Yeah, I was actually talking to a guy who is a big Liverpool fan. He's talking about going to the Milan game. Milan Liverpool away. I have to say I'm a bit tempted to go back on the travels, Joe. It's been a long time since I've been on a plane.
You got to get living again, Johnny, I think.
That's it.
So we'll talk to Andy Mitten after 9. Manchester United, another loss. We mentioned them on the news round yesterday. I hadn't at that stage. It was just busy. There was Ryder Cup on. There were things going on. I hadn't seen Bruno Fernandes's statement at that stage, his 250-word statement, which really would make you cringe. Gary Neville's on the warpath about this now.
Yeah, there was some good stuff on Twitter about this. Yeah, cringe is the word, isn't it?
Yeah. So Neville's point is, he said he's going to go big on this in the next couple of months, and effectively just how inauthentic footballers have become because of social media. So comms teams having meetings after moments like this, kind of a crisis, and how do we spin this and how do we garner sympathy and put it out, and it's all just hollow and empty and has absolutely nothing to do with Bruno Fernandes, the person who doesn't sound like this, who doesn't talk like this. This is not Bruno. I mean, if you're his comms team, at least try and make it sound a little bit authentic. And like Neville's right, ultimately, that this stuff is the kind of thing that just puts even more of a distance between footballers and fans, really. But I mean, it's been going on for a number of years now and it's not going to let up. I don't think they're going to stop, but I wish they would, because it's just guff.
Philip Lamb had an interesting piece actually in The Guardian today, which they printed in the Irish Times, and he was just talking about like PSG, the way they operate as a club, and he said they're not rooted in the locality. PSG is a global club now, and it just kind of made me sad, because like if you're from Paris, you want to go and see your team, and you know, but PSG is a lot bigger than that, and I guess that's kind of global football as well. But it was really well written piece actually.
He argued that PSG, I think, were a luxury brand in the same way, Louis Vuitton or one of those kind of designer things are, which is just, that's the kind of like that and the Bruno Fernandes statement are the kind of things that would make you blush and kind of shy away from modern day football, as it were, because it's just like it's as a curmudgeonly, vaguely racist man from Manchester once said, it says nothing to me about my life.
And by contrast, then you have, it always goes back to Bows, Richie, when I'm on with you, but by contrast you have the Bows fans last night unveiling a banner with No Passaran in honour of Luke O'Riordan and Neil O'Riordan's dad, who passed away, and stuff like that you can completely relate to, where they go up the road. He's passed away within, I think, 24 hours of the game, and the Bows, there's a minute's silence by Dundalk in honour of, I guess, the two sons as well, and the Bows fans unveiled that banner. I thought was really, really touching, and I could relate to that at least. Yeah,
it was a lovely touch. Neil even kind of his thanks for the gesture, and obviously Luke is involved with the club, and their dad have been fairly active, of course, in terms of politics and stuff over the years. So just a brilliant gesture. That's the kind of thing that's relatable. It's wordy statements about skying a penalty and comparing clubs who are owned by petro-states to luxury brands is the kind of thing that makes you want to shy away from it a little bit.
On a football level though, Joe, I do think of you every time they don't play that well and Ronaldo doesn't play that well and they don't win.
Well, it's getting worrying. Who takes the next penalty?
And penalties are the least of their concerns, really, in that regard. Like if Ronaldo doesn't score, he's probably not going to play well. And that it will become a problem for Solskjaer, particularly in games where they don't have the ball for much of it. Like you'd sort of think in that game that was on at the same time Saturday that Ronaldo would have been a bit lost at times if he were playing against that City team. But it's going to be interesting. I think the Europe is a big deal for them because the league is probably going to be too tough.
Yeah. Well, Andy Mitten on the way after 9 o'clock. Interesting to hear what he thinks of the Solskjaer situation now. It's starting to feel a bit squeaky bum time for him again. Meanwhile, Keith Andrews on the show. We streamed this interview already. I would say he put forward a very staunch, confident defence of the work that he and Stephen Kenny have done over the last 15 months, and no regrets about the way they've tried to blood so many young players and the way they've approached the job, and took all and any criticisms and answered them, and I thought it very well thought out answers to them all, and like it was I'm a bit miserable in this interview. I'm just hitting him with critique after critique after critique.
You did channel your inner Vincent Brown a bit, didn't you?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess that's the point, because I would think he wants to come on and, don't tickle my belly. Tell me what people are saying when they're criticising the teams, and I'll give you our perspective. And that's something you can do when you have a period of time here in studio, as opposed to a 5-minute flash interview where you can tease things out. So, he was more than confident enough to come on and defend every aspect of what they're doing. And I would have said did a pretty good job. I know you watched the interview. I would have thought a very convincing performance. Absolutely.
I think he did brilliantly. And as he said himself, he hadn't been on in so long. And he didn't shy away. He said, I'm not preempting the interview. But one of the things he said was, we can never tell you the full truth because that's not how it works in this game. But he didn't shy away. And the ending of it, I thought was just very bullish in terms of the future, and it covered a broad range of subjects. Stephen Kenny's record as Ireland manager on print in the paper in front of you is not good, and there's no point dancing around that. I'm entirely behind the Stephen Kenny project myself, but I'm not going to say that there were aspects of performances and aspects of results and things that went on that I thought were great either. And I think that comes across in the interview, and that they don't shy away from the fact that they're kind of learning on the job themselves.
Well, I asked him, he said he anticipated short-term pain, and I asked him, has it been worse than you expected results-wise? And he said, oh yeah. Yeah, we didn't expect this.
But you brought up the Andorra game. Like, remember when that 1-0 down against Andorra, that was a nadir, you'd imagine, but what you said, Penny, for your thoughts. What were their thoughts at that stage? I mean,
that
it wasn't
effed.
Yeah, it wasn't inconceivable that they didn't win that game. And all the great plans and all the beautiful football plans or whatever, but things since then, like, we haven't been scoring goals, and you confront a lot of issues. But I thought he came across very, very well. He spoke about his stuff on Damien Duff was very interesting, I thought. His stuff on Videogate was very interesting. I would imagine. I mean, I'm kind of completely fed up with that stuff now. I think it was a non-story. Beyond the only story with that is, which you also approached, was why and how and who leaked this. Like, why? What's going on here? Who's trying to undermine them? And he didn't shy away from it. He didn't shy away from it. He could have kind of stonewalled you. He could have just not done the interview. But I thought it was great stuff.
Okay, well, he's on the way 7:30. Keith Andrews in studio will play that out for you pretty much in full, actually fully in full, so it'll go right through until a good portion of the 8 to 9 hour. Richie, we should start the news round. It is, by the way, with thanks to Gillette as ever, but they are celebrating the return to normality. See, Johnny, you talking about going to Milan? The prize this evening, a special prize, UEFA Champions League tickets to Chelsea Malmo 20th of October with flights and accommodation included. It's been a while since I've given away a prize like that. So you can enter the competition via the Off The Ball Twitter page. In short, there'll be an image of a bearded sports person every day this week. That is today's image. If you're streaming the show, tell us who that is and you'll be in with a chance to win. Put your hashtag best face forward with Gillette. Richie, where are we starting? Champions League, I presume.
Yeah, exactly. Liverpool and Manchester City both on the road tonight in the Champions League. The former are without Trent Alexander-Arnold, who didn't travel to Portugal for their Group B game with Porto. So Liverpool line out with Alisson in goal, a back four then of James Milner, Joel Matip, Virgil van Dijk and Andy Robertson. In midfield then we've got Fabinho, Curtis Jones, Jordan Henderson, and up front the trio of Sadio Mane, Mo Salah and Diogo Jota. Elsewhere in that group, AC Milan welcome Atletico Madrid to the San Siro. There's a Petro State derby in Group A with Paris Saint-Germain playing host to Manchester City. For PSG, Gianluigi Donnarumma starts in goal. They've got a back four of Ashraf Hakimi, Marquinhos, Presnel Kimpembe and Nuno Mendes. In midfield then, Idrissa Gueye, Ander Herrera and Marco Verratti, with the front three of Neymar, Lionel Messi and Kylian Mbappe. For City, it looks like they have Ederson in goal, obviously enough, and a back four, it seems now, of Kyle Walker, Ruben Dias, Aymeric Laporte and Joao Cancelo. In midfield, we've got Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne and Jack Grealish, and then a front three of Bernardo Silva, the false Brahim Sterling, Riyad Mahrez. Same time in Group A, RB Leipzig take on Club Brugge. In Group C, they're into the final 20 minutes in Amsterdam, where Ajax lead Besiktas by 2-0. Sebastian Aller has gotten one of those, his fifth in 2 matches in the Champions League. Steven Berghuis the other. And at 8, Borussia Dortmund play host to Sporting. And in Group D's early kickoff, it's still scoreless in the Ukraine, with Shakhtar Donetsk up against Inter. There's an 8 p.m. start to the meeting of Real Madrid and Sheriff.
Interesting stuff tonight.
Yeah.
De Bruyne's performance will be interesting because he was, by his standards, he was fairly quiet.
I think he's
Saturday.
not right, I think, because when he came off against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, there was a very sincere hug with him and Guardiola.
100%. It was very notable.
It was like a manager saying to a player, I know you're not right. I know that was a struggle for you.
You're my son and I love you.
But good man.
It's obviously not his son.
Yes, but you are my son and I love you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Almost we privately know you've played through the pain barrier or something. That was the vibe, I thought.
And we had Shane Keegan on Saturday, and he really thought that the Foden situation, he pointed out that Foden had a very poor game as well. He basically was playing number 9 and that he wasn't playing anywhere near his best position. And when you think that De Bruyne and Foden were 5 out of 10 performances, like City were so dominant in that game.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. And also Liverpool just coming on the back of that amazing game on Saturday when, just defensively they were really all over the shop. So it was like Liverpool are probably contenders for the league this season, but it just looked that defensively they need to build on that because it was poor. They shouldn't be scoring 3 at Brentford and not winning, I guess.
Yeah, for all the hype about the big four, we're starting to see a few frailties now, which makes it even more interesting. So Chelsea, Stamford Bridge at the weekend, Man City had Rodri, who was very good actually. Rodri and Bernardo Silva as a 2 in front of their back four, and then, as you said, it was Foden as a false 9, De Bruyne behind him, Jesus on one
the right,
and Grealish on the other. And it was interesting, I heard Shane Keegan, I was listening in the car at the time, and he was making the point that as soon as De Bruyne went off and Foden dropped into more of a number 10 type position, he instantly just was more comfortable and started making things happen. Now interestingly, he doesn't play at all this evening. You could see, looking at that City lineup, it being a similar formation, because it could very well be Bernardo Silva and Rodri as a 2, and it could be Raheem Sterling as the false 9 with De Bruyne behind him, Grealish still on the left and Mahrez tonight on the right, who's definitely a better option than Jesus. Or they can go 4-3-3. They've great options, but what was so striking about Stamford Bridge was the way they pressed the life out of Chelsea. Chelsea couldn't play out.
They had no answer, and that wasn't the way they played for much of last season. I think he made a decision around December that when they were having their wobble that they would kind of maybe recalibrate or whatever. But what about Jack Grealish at times on Saturday? It was like it's this really, really intriguing thing as a sports fan where you're watching something unfold and you know what he's going to do, and the defender knows what he's going to do, and Jack Grealish kind of knows what he's going to do, and then he does it, and it's like, well, the defender should be able to block that, but he's not able to block it because Jack Grealish is that good, and it's going to be a hell of a game. The last time that these two played in Paris, it was absorbing stuff, and you know me, Richie, we all love, as you say, a Petro State derby.
Yeah, good crack. I know it should be interesting, entertaining. It's like it's the ultimate test though of that PSG midfield, because they're going to be asked to do an awful lot in the absence of defensive effort on behalf of that front three. So Verratti and Idrissa Gueye and was it Ander Herrera are certainly going to have to earn their corn tonight.
Also, the dynamic with the front three in Paris is interesting. The lip readers were out in force at the weekend. Did you see this?
I didn't, but obviously, they are the creme de la creme.
So it seems during the game that Neymar hadn't exactly laid on a pass for Mbappe when he very well could have, and Mbappe's taken off. They do win the game ultimately 2-0, but they're still not firing. And then with Mbappe watching from the bench, and Neymar picks out, I think it might have been Draxler. Regardless, anyway, Neymar picks out a pass for someone and they score. And on the bench, Mbappe turns to Idrissa Gueye, and the lip readers will claim, he said, because he didn't cover his mouth, of Neymar, he said, this tramp doesn't give me that pass.
Tramp?
Yeah. As
Jesus.
In, if that was me, he doesn't pass that to me. So this tramp doesn't give me that pass. It was in Kennerly's piece in the Irish Times Monday is what the lip reader said. So You know, early in the game, you can imagine Mbappe not happy. Neymar hasn't given him the pass on the bench, doesn't cover his mouth. They all know they're being lip read. And he said to Adressagay of Neymar, that tramp doesn't give me that pass. So,
again, Joe, this is more grist to your mill for having an ancillary show to main sporting events, whereby, much like Big Brother's Little Brother, the sign language and the body language is read and analysed. We get a panel on.
He's faking it sports style.
How is that not so interesting, though?
It is, to be fair. It is.
That's got to happen.
What was that? What was that famous one, Richie, when was it Ibrahimovic scored and they scanned to the stands and it was... he used to play for Spurs, Dutch player. Van der Vaart was like, he was absolutely sick. Like, he hated every moment of it. You didn't need to see what he was saying, but that is fascinating. Tramp is a strong word.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say it was lost in translation or whatever, but
it wasn't complimentary.
Yeah. Tramp is tramp.
I don't know what the cousin of Tramp is, maybe,
Yeah.
but I don't think it was that swell guy there. Didn't pass him.
Trump, maybe. But anyway. Yeah.
One of the great joys of sports is to watch the body language and try and work out what's going on. Is it not? Especially slow motion.
There was a clip of Roy Keane's tackle on Southgate. I don't know, was it an anniversary or something? But it was on Twitter today anyway.
Yeah.
And
it was a semi-final.
Sorry, retaliation. Yeah. Southgate went through him first.
He did, and Dennis Irwin came up kind of backing up Keane. But the camera went over to Alex Ferguson, and he was kind of like trying to keep his composure, but like you were just thinking, what is he thinking? He was just like, FFS or whatever. It was great stuff.
Yeah, I do love Dennis Irwin in to defend Roy in that clip.
Yeah,
get you going.
But that was part of, they roomed together, and that what a perfect foil, because Dennis Irwin is just this really quiet, shy Mr. Consistency, complete foil to Keane. But I'd say Keane loved room with him. He was his buddy.
Can you imagine how many world wars were averted because Dennis Irwin talked Roy Keane down?
Imagine if you put him in with Schmeichel. Like, imagine if they were roomed together.
Yeah.
Well,
it's always, I think, quite lovely the way Keane, at every opportunity when he's asked, all the big media conglomerates of the world, best teammates or best players, will always get Dennis Irwin in there. The forgotten man in many ways of that period.
What a player he was! Brilliant free kicking him as well. Left foot, right foot, played left back, right back.
I was a David Beckham fan as a teenager, but there's a resentment there that he took a lot of free kicks away from Dennis.
Dennis Irwin, yeah. Which is, think of us of Ireland having him like right back, left back or wherever we were using him, and like even the Roy Keane stuff though. It's just like every little anecdote from whoever it is regarding Roy Keane's playing career. Everyone still wants to read it. It's like they're caught in a complete time warp where everyone just wants to be back in the time when Roy Keane was dominating games for Manchester United and Ireland. Yeah. I think when he's passed away, we'll still be like, God, did you hear that anecdote about Roy Keane and when he was rooming with Dennis? I love the one about Schmeichel where he called Desi Baker Irish and he said he's not Irish, his name is Desi, and he just went off on one with Schmeichel. I love that story. I was never a fan of Schmeichel. And as much as Keane is a complex character, there's an awful lot of decency there.
Yeah, he's a new autobiography out, Schmeichel. I don't know if it's any good.
It's on the way, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
New autobiography is never a good start, is it?
No. Well, I don't know if he ever had a first one, Schmeichel. If he did, it's not been very memorable.
Imagine he probably would have, yeah.
Richie, where are we going to?
Yeah. To Merseyside, Liverpool legend Roger Hunt has passed away at the age of 83. The former striker remains Liverpool's all-time leading goal scorer in the league and is overall second only to Ian Rush with 285 goals. Hunt won 2 league titles at Anfield under Bill Shankly, and he scored 3 goals en route to England lifting the World Cup in 1966. Former Republic of Ireland and Liverpool striker John Aldridge is just one of the many paying tribute today.
Absolutely gutted. What a player. What a man. What a gentleman. I just can't speak highly enough of him. Now, I went to watch Liverpool the first time in the mid-60s and he was a cult hero, on the Kop and for every Liverpool supporter, and I just took to him and he was someone I always looked up to, and the reason why I never wore number 9 is because of Sir Roger, because I wanted to wear his number 8 on my back and wear it with pride, and to do it for Liverpool is an honour. That's all I can say. He's truly a great man.
N'Golo Kante, Rich?
Yeah, the Chelsea boss Thomas Tuchel says he can't force players to get vaccinated against COVID-19. Kante misses tomorrow's Champions League trip to Juventus, having tested positive for the virus. Reports last weekend said only 35% of Premier League footballers had opted to get the vaccine. Tuchel didn't say if Kante had or hadn't been vaccinated, but says it's up to the players to make their own choices.
It's a serious question, and vaccination seems to be a proper protection. I am vaccinated, like I said. I took the decision for myself, but I don't really see myself in the position to speak out. What is the word for it? Proper recommendations. I think that would go too far. I'm a football coach. I'm not a 100% expert in this, and I would leave it up to them. And then the second point is everybody is adult enough, and everybody is. We live in a free country and a free society, which is a good thing. And so people can take their choices. And of course, we take actions, and then we are responsible for it. And we don't like to lose players, but we are not now. We are not angry on N'Golo. I mean, by far not. I'm concerned about him and worried about him, like I'm worried about my injured players who receive a kick in the game. And now we will stay in close touch and take care about them and bring them back as soon as possible. But of course, we'd love to have a full squad and full choice.
So that's Thomas Tuchel. It's obviously personal choice, although as Richie cited there, the reports last weekend reckon only 35% of Premier League footballers have had the jab, which is well down on man in the street percentage-wise, just 35% in favour of getting it. What do you make of this culture which has taken hold in quite a few Premier League dressing rooms?
I can't get my head around it. Like, I really can't, because like 35%, so essentially 1 in 3 are getting it, and the other 2/3 aren't. But like, this has nothing to do with football. Like, this is to do with, like, do you not have people around you that might be at risk if you're not vaccinated? Like, I respect it's kind of your choice. I don't respect the fact that there should be a 2/3 majority who are not vaccinated on the basis of them seemingly being professional footballers.
There was a piece in the Sunday Times a few weeks back, Martin Ziegler, I think. It was very, very interesting, very good. And he had spoken to various people around a couple of clubs, and they were concerned at the level of misinformation. They were talking about the players spending a lot of time on their phones, taking guidance from the wrong sources, and they were trying to talk to the players and show them better sources and more authoritative sources. I mean, weirdly, one dressing room was very taken with Matt Letizier's Twitter account, which is very anti-vaccine and pushing all this stuff forward, and they were, sharing a lot of what he was saying around amongst each other. And I suppose there are sheep, and dressing rooms are weird environments. So if a couple of leaders decide, no, and look, I've seen this, let's not risk it, we're young, we're healthy, we'll be fine, so let's not risk any kind of weird reaction, and we might not be fit for however long if we take it, then you can see how that kind of becomes, 65% going, yeah, okay, sounds good to me, let's leave it.
Well, it doesn't shine very well on their general intelligence, does it?
No. Not if they're taking their sources from...
Or being somewhat selfless about this. I mean, I don't know, like, when I got the second jab, I was fairly knocked out for a couple of days, but... I mean, there's a greater good at play here. Like, I first of all don't want to get it, but mainly I don't want to pass it on to somebody else. And fair enough, it's personal choice, but it's a staggering figure. I did read that at the weekend. It's staggering stuff. I don't know what you think, Richie would.
Yeah, it's perverse. Like, for that many people too. Like, when you consider the numbers here, 90% of the over 16s, at least we've passed by that now, have been vaccinated across the country. For you to have this subset of people in the UK, I know their vaccination take-up isn't as keen for whatever reason over there. Like, for 65% of footballers to go, no, I'm not getting vaccinated, when you could be a disease vector. It's not about getting it yourself. It's about potentially passing it on to someone else. It's about potentially passing it on to a family member who's more susceptible, or a staff member around the club who could be more susceptible to it. It's a serious lack of cop on. And you'd wonder, as Johnny says, about the general intelligence levels of these lads if they're in that many numbers saying no to something as common sense as that.
It's a problem for them coming into international squads as well, like, because I don't really want somebody in my squad who's potentially going to spread this. Like, and obviously Ireland have been riddled with cases, and a lot of that was kind of before pre-vaccine or whatever. Yeah. But it's problematic for managers as well.
Yeah. Rich, we have time for maybe one more story.
Yeah, Shane Renane says he's fulfilling a 5-year-long dream by becoming the new manager of the Cork senior women's football team. Brary Ornaby has been ratified on a 3-year term, replacing Aoife Fitzgerald. Renane, who stepped down as Waterford senior men's boss just last week, had unsuccessfully applied for the Cork position back in 2016 when it went to Fitzgerald.
Very good. Richie McCormack, thank you.
Listen, lads.
Johnny Ward, thanks very much for coming to the studio. Appreciate it.
Well done on your interview. I strongly would, if you have any interest in the Irish team. I think it's a great list.
Thanks very much. Well, it's on the way next in just a second.